All right, do a quick video, show you what we're working on. It's a 2012. I think he kept telling me it was a 13, but I'm pretty sure it's a 2012 because that'd be the last year of that short back door. At any rate, GMC Sierra, you know, anything from, what is it, halfway through 07 all the way up to, what is it, 2013. They all look like this, same body, same mechanical, all that stuff. So what we had here was a bunch of blister in ahead of the taillight, and this section had rotted. So we cut it out, we oversized a patch panel, and we glued it over top. Now, before the glue cures all the way, we're going to butt weld right here, and we're going to butt weld right there. Now, a lot of guys will say you can't do that with panel bond adhesive. Weld through when wet. This particular product, you can weld right through it, right beside it, as long as it's wet. And I called them and they said as long as it's not cured, you can't weld through it, but you can weld beside it. So 24 to 36 hours. We've only got about 12, 13 hours on this. So we're just going to weld these two corners and we're done. Now the important thing of a patch like this should come in here, and then there's two laps you can see here, and it's lapped to the back, but that's all gone. So we're just going to make one piece after this is done and welded. We're going to remake this whole side. We're going to template it off that side. And just reverse the template. Now we did use a shrinker to get just a little bit of curve. And it only took a few minutes. But what's important with this fix is that you want a good strong metal edge. Let me see. So you can see the gap is pretty good. We have a little bit of a widening at the very bottom. A little bit of filler will take care of that. Hang on, that's not in right. There we go. That's better. But yeah, you can see down here we're going to need a little bit of filler. The rest of it is real close. That's just me holding it with one hand. Sorry about that. Yeah, it wasn't sitting in there quite right, but anyway. We also want it to look good this way. It's hard to catch that on camera, maybe from the top. There you go, you see? As I pull the camera out and go all the way down, it's pretty close to flush. And even the factory won't have it perfect, but you want it that the light doesn't stick out past. It's flush or a touch in. So what that does, by making that shape to the light, and we tried to knock it in this way because the light's actually, it looks straight, but it actually has a curve this way. So after we made our curve, we actually had to hammer on this and knock it in as we bent it this way to make that shape. And we used our shrinker to adjust it a few times. Now, right here, there's a little bit of a dent that's pushed in. We didn't pull it all the way out because we knew we'd have the thickness of the metal. We've got 1.5 inches of metal here that's glued over top of the panel because all we wanted to do is get rid of the rotten part. So it's not a hard repair. You just got to take your time and make sure all your stuff fits. Mock-up, as they call it. It's pretty important. Now, if you weren't real fussy, you could kind of just put it wherever and make it strong. But next we'll template our plate, set it right behind here, and we'll have an L shape to come up and meet this. We'll put a couple beads of weld, a couple tacks in here. You get the idea. What else did we do? We did a arch repair. Now the rest of this truck is pretty good. A lot of spots, little spots like that. The far side, this is all surface rusted. We're going to sandblast that out and epoxy it and paint it. But on this side, we only needed about this much down here. But it's cheaper to buy this panel. The panel's nice and thick. This ain't going to rot through again. So we went ahead up to here. There's a body line right here. We wanted to go above the body line with our cut, but below this body line. And by staying this way, gives us a nice area where we can run our filler and blend the two panels together and run a block across it and make it straight. So this will be our bodywork down in this area here, coming up like so, here, and then you kind of taper it down in like so, and this will all block in, and it'll be pretty good. And you got to keep in mind, this truck had a few dents. There was a ding there. I think the other side had a few dings too. We'll fix them, but it is what it is. So we ground all our little paint blowouts out. I'm not so sure they were from rock chips, but most of them are down low, so it could be. But the paint is so thin on these, any little touch, they seem to just kind of blow out later. So you got to make sure you get all those, and as you're cleaning and sanding, you'll find them. Now, if you miss some, it is what it is. Hopefully you don't. Hopefully you get them all. And then the front, let's see if we can get a little closer here, because I'm plugged in right now. We're going to make a couple patch panels. I'm going to do a separate video later for that on how to make those, and we're going to glue them on. And you know, then you got to do a couple inches of filler just to blend them together. But the fenders in this case, usually I just put new fenders on if they're all rotten, but it's just those lower corners. Now, you used to be able to buy a patch panel for down there. Rock Auto used to carry them, but I don't see them anywhere anymore, so we just make those. Now, these fenders, when you look underneath and whatnot, they're absolutely pristine, so we're not changing them out. We're just gonna fix those, and by the time you put your form-fitted mud flaps on and all that stuff that goes there, it'll be fine. You'll never know anyone that ever worked there. So that's just take your time, do it smooth, save yourself the what, $200-300 a fender, whatever they are now. But yeah, so again, the reason we use this epoxy, you can glue beside it, or you can weld beside it. We're going to weld here, and we're going to weld here. Down here, we don't care about that. We are going to have to fill these holes now, however, and do our body work. So the rest of the truck, let's have a quick look. Tailgate is perfect. We got a big ding right there. We're going to have to fill that. I might reach up behind it and try to pop a little bit of it out, but we got to fill that area. As you can see here, we ground all the junk off. We're going to give that a rust treatment, and then we're going to sandblast it later and epoxy it. So that'll seal that up. The rest of this truck is actually in good shape. We got those same blowouts, less on this side, but there's a few. And then our rocker panels pretty much look like this. So we're going to sandblast the hell out of those. And they're solid, so we'll just epoxy them after a sandblast, and we should be good. You can see where these posts on these trucks are notorious for rotting out. We're not even going to worry about that. We clean them up. We sprayed them with this, what's it called, Rust Destroyer Primer. Now, I've put this on, you know, rusty A-arms and stuff that I've kind of cleaned up, and 5-6 years later, the rust doesn't seem to come back through, so hopefully that'll do it. But that won't be the only thing we do. Once this is all painted and together, before we put the lights on, we're going to spray a bunch of oil up in here all over the place. We're going to coat that with undercoat oil as we're putting our lights back in. We're also going to do that on the inner edges. And another thing, we're going to reach in here with a long tube. We're going to blow a whole pile of that dripless oil all in around this up on top. Hopefully that'll keep it from coming through again. You know, nothing slows it, or nothing stops the rust, but you got to do everything you can to slow it down. Anyway, that's our video for now. Thanks for watching.